Good morning, welcome to January Books. It's the 6th of January and this morning I finished this book from the library, Just Another Missing Person by Jillian Mallister. Now I can tell you from my Goodreads account I have read 5 of Jillian Mallister's. I think she's written 8 books with another one coming out this spring. I've read 5 of her books in total. I gave 2 of them 5 stars, gave 2 of them 4 stars, and I'm afraid this one's a 3.5. I'm going to give it a 3.5. It's more of a police procedural than her normal books are, and I don't love a police procedural, generally speaking, just okay. It's the story of the Detective Chief Inspector Julia, who is hunting for a girl who has just gone missing called Olivia, and she disappeared from a dead-end alley one evening and they can't find her. That's where the story starts and it moves on from there. It flips back and forth between different characters, and usually I get on okay with that. There was a huge cast of characters in this though, and I found that it was a bit big for my liking. This plot itself was pretty good. There were some twists and turns and they were okay. You did have to suspend disbelief a bit towards the end, I felt. And there was a sort of subtext going on in it of the relationship between sort of how far would you go for your child, how far would you go to protect your child, and there were several different parent-child relationships within it where that question was being examined. So it's quite cleverly written, but it just didn't quite hit the mark for me to be a 4-star. It certainly kept me turning the pages and I enjoyed it, but it's definitely the book of hers that I have enjoyed the least. I've just seen that I've got another of her books in my bookcase ready to read. So there'll be at least one more Jillian Mallister in my future for sure. But 3.5 stars for this one for me. If you like a police procedural, you might well enjoy this. As I say, it's not my favourite genre. The other thing that did really annoy me about it is it kept saying something along the lines of a look passed between them and words were spoken, but she couldn't put her finger on what the communication was. And I thought that was just, they kept on variations of that sentence between the different points of the book. And it just got my goat. It's just a meaningless, pointless sentence, isn't it? It's just a nothing sentence. It's just saying nothing. So yeah, I liked it. I didn't love it. Hello there. It is... What date is it? It's the day after I spoke to you in the clip you've just seen. So the 7th of January, I think. I have just purchased from Amazon Kindle First Reads. If you have Amazon Prime and Kindle, you get an email every month. I've talked about this before, I'm sure, where they offer you a free book once a month from a small selection. And so I haven't purchased because I am on a book buying ban. As you know, I have downloaded a book called Blade by, who's it by? Wendy Walker. And the description of this is, Anna Robbins was an Olympic star in the making until tragedy forced her to leave that world behind. At the age of 16, she gave up her dream and never looked back. 14 years later, she's a successful defence attorney revered for her work with minors. But when her former coach turns up dead, Anna lands right back where it all began and abruptly ended. The Palace, a world-renowned skating facility nestled high in the mountains of Colorado. Anna returns to the Palace to defend the young skater accused of the brutal crime, Grace Montgomery. Despite her claims of innocence, all evidence points squarely at Grace's guilt, and she's days away from facing charges of first-degree murder. But Anna's investigation dredges up childhood memories of her own, triggering the fear that permeates this place where she once lived and trained far from home. With a blizzard raging outside and time running out for Grace, Anna is determined to uncover the truth, even if it means exposing her own secrets that she buried here long ago. That sounded really good to me. Good. I really like the sound of the plot. A bit of a murder mystery, bit of a thriller, some ice skating thrown in as well. So I'm definitely only going to download, I have been doing this for the last 12 months anyway, but on the Amazon First Reads, I'm definitely only going to download a monthly free book if there is one that I really want to read. So I'm not going to let myself get sucked in by the fact it's a free new book. I'm going to be selective in my choices, so I may not get one every month, but that is this month. So I was a little bit disappointed with the cover of this. I felt like it could have had more of the ice. It's got the winter look on it, but I felt like it could have had something to do with the ice skating as well. I felt like that. It's just a bit nothingy, isn't it? Anyway, looking forward to reading that. I'll obviously, when I read it, let you know what it's like. Morning. It's the next day. It's cold and rainy and unpleasant. Don't know why I needed to tell you that, but I did. I've just been to the library to take back my last lot of library books because I had an email this morning saying my next order, my library order, my only library order that I currently have was in. And it is this, When Gavin Met Stacy by James Corden and Ruth Jones. Very excited to read this. I've heard good things about it. I think it's going to be a really quick read. So hopefully I'll be able to read it and finish it and get it back to the library before I go on holiday, because I had to beg the lady to accept, because it's got reserves on it after I take it back. I had to beg the lady to extend the 3-week renewal for me because that falls while we're on holiday. So if I don't get it read and finished before I go on holiday, I'm pretty sure I will. And one of the reasons I will is I'm going to start it today. The reason for this being that I started a book a couple of days ago and I have given it up. I got to about page 80 and gave it up. It's by Eva Rice. I'm going to put a picture of it in here because I can't even remember the title. I read and loved many, many years ago, before I started tracking on Goodreads, so well over a decade, I read and loved The Lost Art of Keeping Secrets by this author. And I've got this book and another book by her on my Kindle. This is another reason, side note, this is another reason that I need to not have such a big backlog of unread books, because I wouldn't necessarily have bought, if I had read and not enjoyed the one that I've just given up, I probably wouldn't have bought a third one by her. So I need to have less backlog of books, basically. But hopefully this year is going to address that. Fingers crossed. Anyway, yes, I could have carried on with this book, but I really wasn't enjoying it. I was struggling to pick it up. I was up in the night last night and I picked it up and read a bit. And I thought, you know what, I'm really not enjoying this. On paper, it was set in the 90s. It was about a girl who's 19 who's lost her parents in the King's Cross train accident. I don't remember that actually, but I assume it was a thing at the time. The King's Cross train disaster, and her sister, subsequently her twin sister, 19-year-old twin sister, dies in a car accident. It's about her grief and how she's dealing with that. She's living with her aunt and uncle in London, and it just, the way it was written didn't draw me in. It was a lot of description and explanation. And on paper, I should have really liked this book. And it just didn't speak to me. And I was reading, I thought I could plough on with this and I really don't want to. So I stopped. And I kind of want to do more of that this year as well. I want to not continue. I'm getting much better at this, but I do tend to plough through, even when I'm not enjoying, and I want to be more brutal. It's not like I haven't got an awful lot of books to get through, even without ever buying another one again, you know. So I need to leave behind books that I'm not enjoying. So, yeah. Anyway, I'm very much looking forward to this one. I'm going to get started on that later on today, and hopefully I'll be back with a review on this, telling you how much I enjoyed it. Good morning. Please excuse the horrible light. It's absolutely vile here this morning, pouring with rain. Well, I managed to finish this one. It's When Gavin Met Stacy. I picked it up from the library last week. I really enjoyed it. I read it quite slowly. I've had a lot going on. I've been watching a lot more telly than normal because I've had to catch up on the Traitors because I couldn't avoid spoilers. I was hoping to wait to watch it till I got back from holiday, but oh my goodness, the spoilers were just literally everywhere I looked, including my brother texting me repeatedly about it. So I ended up having to watch 6 hours of that to catch up. Luckily, it's the sort of thing you can watch while you're doing other stuff. So, but anyway, I finished this last night. I really enjoyed it. It's a really good book for anyone who enjoyed the TV series Gavin and Stacy. It was such lovely family viewing, wasn't it? And the characters were so adorable. This is sort of written in the, it's got some bits out of the script which are interesting, and then the rest of it is written in the format of a conversation between James and Ruth, and is very, very readable. Lots of reminiscences about how it came to be and about the filming of it and the writing of it. And you do have to be a fan of the programme to watch it. I did find it was perhaps, if I gave it a criticism, I would say it was a little bit long. I could have done with it being just a little bit more succinct. In fact, there was a little bit of repetition, just maybe some tighter editing. But I gave it 4 stars because I did really enjoy it. It provoked a lot of memories of the series, and I would highly recommend it. I reckon if they voice it themselves, I reckon if you're an Audible reader, this would be a great one on audio. So yeah, really enjoyed that. Right, I'm now switching to Kindle reading because we go on holiday tomorrow. And good thing I've got lots of stuff to read on my Kindle, because I am planning to, as my sister-in-law calls it, this type of holiday, a fly and flop. Going to fly to Mauritius, flop on a deck chair, lie there and read, eat nice food and drink cocktails. That's all I want to do. Hello there, it's Tuesday, I'm going to say the 20th of January. Let me double check. It is Tuesday the 20th of January. It's about 6:30 in the evening, and today I finished Stolen, Escape from Syria by Louise Monaghan. This was an autobiographical book written by Louise. She met a man who was a walking red flag. She lived in Cyprus. She was in her 20s, living and working in Cyprus, and she met a Muslim man from Syria who was, it turned out later, I think in Cyprus illegally. And despite the fact he was a massive walking red flag pretty much from the moment she met him, in terms of controlling behaviour, physical abuse, all of that stuff, she spent years with him. She had a daughter with him. And then she married him despite no longer loving him and him regularly beating her. She was also, I should say, there was not a financial impact on her from the relationship. She was the breadwinner. They lived off what she earned. So she wasn't in a financial position where she was beholden to this man. So I struggled, to be honest. The story went on that Mustafa, her husband, eventually their relationship broke down, and they had this 5-year-old daughter, and she was awarded custody of her, and he subsequently kidnapped the daughter and took her to Syria, and Louise had to ended up going to Syria herself to get her daughter back. And obviously Syria is a country that is, there are issues there, aren't there? And she, as a white woman, put herself in a lot of danger doing that, and it's the story of that, basically. But I've struggled to find sympathy for Louise. This bloke was just such a red flag. None of her family liked him. Her friends didn't like him. It was just bizarre to me that she pretty much put herself in this position. And I know you can never, what is it? Don't judge another person till you've walked in their shoes. So there is that. I did enjoy the book. It was worth a read. It was written, the writing wasn't great. However, as it's autobiographical, it's probably how she would tell the story. So, I didn't think the writing was great, but it was an okay read. I gave it 3 stars. I found it interesting enough to keep reading. But, I struggled to find a lot of sympathy with her. I thought she was a bit of a silly woman, if I'm perfectly honest. But all's well that ends well, and I don't think it's a spoiler to say that it ended well in the end, so that was good. But yes, a woeful tale, really. Anyway, I'm on to my next book now, which is one of Lisa Jewell's newest books, and she's one of my favourite authors, and I'm 40% in since I finished that one this morning and started the new one. So I'll hopefully have a more upbeat review for you, possibly tomorrow, we shall see. Good morning. It is what date are we on? Friday the 23rd of January, and I have got 2 more book reviews for you this morning. I read Lisa Jewell's Don't Let Him In, first of all, and interestingly, Lisa herself describes it as a psychological thriller. and I would not describe it as such. I feel, sorry, that was probably really loud because I've got the microphone on because it's very windy here. I feel like it wasn't really a psychological thriller. I did really enjoy it. I gave it 4 stars. I love all her writing. She's a very good author. I've read almost everything she's ever written, I think. But there was nothing thrilling or surprising or twisty or turny in it. It was a great story about an unreliable man, basically. And a lot of it was a big cast of characters. I'm quite glad I read it on holiday because I'm not sure I would have kept all the characters straight in my head had I been picking up and putting it down over the course of a few days or a week or whatever. It wasn't one of my favourite of her books, I have to say, but I did very much enjoy it, and I would recommend, notwithstanding the large cast of characters. But if you're expecting a psychological thriller, maybe don't, is the only caveat I would say to that. And then the book that I've just finished this morning is called The Last List of Mabel Beaumont by Laura Pearson. Had this on my Kindle a while. It was such a lovely book. I haven't rated it yet. I've literally just finished it before I put the camera up to talk to you. But I think I'm going to give it 5 stars. It was just lovely. It's about love and loss and growing old and loneliness and female friendships that span across generations, and it was just a lovely, heartwarming read whilst tackling some real meaty issues as well. I loved it. I can't tell you how much I loved it. This gave me the same feeling as the Dear Mrs. Bird series gives me. And I looked up Laura Pearson, actually, the author of this, when I was about halfway through it, because I thought I'd really like to know if she's written any other books, because I'd like to read more. And I discovered that I actually read a book by her last year. I can't remember the name of it now. Bear with, I will tell you. It was called Missing Pieces. I read it as soon as I saw the cover. I remembered I'd read it. She has written actually loads of books, but I read a book by her last year called Missing Pieces, and I only gave it 3 stars. I didn't love it. Although looking back now, when I remember the story, I feel like I would have given it 4 stars. But anyway, that doesn't matter. But the cover of this book, The Last List of Mabel Beaumont, looks lovely, and I was delighted to see that Laura appears to have written lots of other books that have been given similar covers to this, and sort of similar names, so I'm definitely going to delve into her back catalogue a bit more. But yeah, this would be my recommendation of the month so far. I feel like it might end up being my favourite book of the month, but we shall see. So yeah, Mabel Beaumont, the 86-year-old Mabel Beaumont, is a character who will stay with me for a long time, I think. Just such a good book. Highly, highly recommend. The humidity is not playing nicely with my hair, and I have no makeup on because I'm on holiday, but I thought at least you could have a nice background today. So, actually, I'm not sure if the background's so bright that it's not showing properly, but anyway, it's Sunday. Don't ask me what the date is, I've lost track. And yesterday I finished Silent Screen by Angela Marsons. I gave it 3 stars. It is the first in a series about the same female detective inspector. It's a serial killer thriller, I guess. Police procedural, lots of gruesome murdering and all sorts. I've said before, I feel like I don't enjoy this particular genre of book anymore. And whilst it was well written and it was a pacey story and it was an easy read, I would stand by this. So imagine my surprise when I thought, I don't really know why I bought this. And I looked up in my Amazon orders, and do you know when I bought that book for my Kindle? 2015. That's ridiculous, isn't it? And it has really, that fact has really reinforced in me the need to get through the books that I own and either read them or delete them from my Kindle. And similar with paperback books, you know, I need to get through those and either give them away, or I keep very few books after I read them anyway. I'm so glad that I put the book buying ban in place for myself this year. I think it's really going to concentrate me on getting through those books, because with the best will in the world, over a period of 11 years, your reading tastes change, don't they? And I just don't love that type of book anymore. As I say, whilst I enjoyed it, I found myself looking forward to getting to the end of it. If you like that sort of thing, I think you would really like the series. She's the Kim, the main character, the detective inspector, has had a troubled past and has a very feisty, interesting personality. And I expect there's more of her backstory to come out. And I think there's at least 10 in that series now, I would say. So it might be one to take a look at if that's your jam, if that's your genre of fiction, if you enjoy that sort of thing. But yeah, well written, but probably not for me anymore. And I've learnt a lesson about buying books and not reading them. I would love to I was talking to Ashley about this. I counted up the unread books on my Kindle. I might have said that already in this video. And I have 169 unread books on my Kindle, because I've bought more books than I could ever read, because I get excited when things go down to 99p on my wish list and I buy them. And because I've done that over a period of years and grown up this massive back catalogue of unread books, I would really love to get to a stage where I had maybe 10 unread books on my Kindle. I think that would be nirvana, maybe 20 even. But the reality of the situation is that 169 unread books is going to take me, I read about 75 a year, so even if I read nothing but Kindle books, even if I didn't go to the library and didn't read any physical books, which isn't going to happen because I like a mixture of reading, that would take me 2 years just to get through the books on my Kindle. I think as well I need to perhaps go through them and delete some that I think I'm not going to enjoy, which is something that I find quite hard to do. I don't know why. Anyway, that's probably enough pontificating for one morning. I'm going to start a new book today. It's 9 o'clock, we're just going for breakfast, and then a day of reading on my deck chair. What could be better? Well, good evening. It is Tuesday. We are flying home tomorrow night. And yesterday I finished Substitute by Susie Holiday. This was another book on my Kindle that I bought many years ago. This one I bought in 2020, I think. COVID year. Was that COVID year? Yes, it was, wasn't it? Now, interestingly, this is another problem with buying so many books without too much thought. When I looked at my Goodreads, I realised that I've actually read 2 previous books by Susie Holiday, and I gave one of them 2 stars and one of them 3 stars. So on that basis, I probably shouldn't have bought a 3rd book by her. However, that was where we were. So I read it, and it was actually quite good. I didn't think I was going to love it to start with. Story of Chrissy. It's a little bit sort of science fiction-y. And Chrissy is married to, I'm going to say Nathan, but I'm not sure I'm right about that. Chrissy's married to Nathan, and they have a young daughter called Holly who's about 4 or something like that. And Chrissy is approached out of nowhere. It becomes sort of apparent that Chrissy has some issues, let's say, around anxiety and worrying about things happening to people. And one day she has a knock on the door, and she is offered the opportunity by a man to nominate 3 people in her life who can be brought back from the dead, effectively. If something happens to them, they can be brought back from the dead. However, the quid pro quo of this is you have to nominate 3 people who will die in their place. It all sounds a bit far-fetched and weird, and to be honest, I thought it was. The book then flips back in time to sort of give you some background to where this story came from. And I would say that the second half was more enjoyable than the first half. It took me a while to get into the story, and obviously it was very far-fetched. But I ended up giving it 4 stars, so I guess the moral of that is that even if you haven't enjoyed books by an author before and you see one described that you think might be quite good, possibly worth giving it a go. So yeah, if you like a bit of dystopian and a bit of twisty-turny, you do have to suspend disbelief a little bit. I felt like the writing wasn't the greatest, and it was a bit of over-explaining going on sometimes, but overall a good read. I enjoyed it. The one I'm reading currently, however, may not be so much of a good read, despite being a very popular book. But let me get to the end of it before I update you on that one. And just like that, I'm back home again. Look. Right, January books. I need to, so I've just set up to film a video. Let me just bring this over here a second. For a try-on video. So I thought, while I've got the camera set up, I will kill two birds with one stone, so to speak, and give you a quick just trying to get into Goodreads here. Give you a quick final review of the holiday, probably a final review of January actually. Tell you about a new book. No. So final book of the holiday was November the 9th by Colleen Hoover. So this is the story of Fallon and Ben. The story opens with Fallon about to move to New York. She is leaving Los Angeles to move to New York, flying out the evening of the day the story starts on, and she's having lunch in a restaurant with her dad. Now they have quite a fraught relationship for various reasons, and Fallon has some scarring on her face and body, which she sort of blames her dad a little bit for the cause of that. And her dad is a bit tone deaf, and Fallon had aspirations to be an actress. Her father was also an actor, and her father's basically telling her that now with this scarring on her face she can't be an actress and she needs to go and find something else to do, which is a bit hurtful and, as I said, a bit tone deaf and cruel really. Unbeknown to the two of them, there is this guy Ben who is in the next booth along at the restaurant. He overhears their conversation, and for whatever reason he decides to step in and give the father a bit of a hard time. He sits down in the booth with them and he pretends to be Fallon's boyfriend. Fallon's obviously very shocked by this. She's never seen the guy before, and the story goes from there. Needless to say, it being a romance, Fallon and Ben get on extremely well. They spend the rest of the day together, and for whatever reason they decide that they won't, so Fallon's obviously moving to New York, and they decide that they won't swap any email addresses or phone numbers or anything, but they will meet up again every year on November the 9th for 5 years. And they decided that it's not the right time to have a relationship, and that's what they're going to do. So it has sort of vibes of One Day. I thought it improved as the story went on. I ended up giving it 4 stars, and I liked the second half better than the first half. A lot of things became apparent in the second half, whereas I thought I was just reading a bit of a love story. There was a lot more background that sort of comes out in the second half of the book, which I felt served it well. So it wasn't my favourite Colleen Hoover ever. I have a bit of a love-hate with Colleen Hoover books really, but yeah, I did end up enjoying it and gave it 5 stars. So I finished that one, and then the next one I started on the plane journey home. I opened my Kindle up and had a look to see what was on it, and I found a book called Dear Edward, which I seem to remember. This is the downside again of having so many unread books on your Kindle. You don't remember the content of them before you start reading them. And long story short, I found this book. It's called Dear Edward. It's by Anna, I can't see the name of the author on that. I'll put a little screenshot of it up anyway. And I seem to remember that it was a book sort of written in correspondence style. So I started reading, and imagine my delight at 30,000 feet in the air on a great big plane, when I'm not a particularly good flyer anyway, that a plane crash ensues. So I closed that and stopped reading it at that point and switched to a film. I have carried on with it a little bit since I got home. I'm up to 25% and I am going to DNF it because I am not enjoying it. It starts off in an airport and a bunch of different people, sort of a bit of an ensemble cast if you like, all getting on this plane. And I didn't particularly relate to or enjoy any of the characters in it, apart from Edward, who ends up being the sole survivor of the plane crash. That's not a spoiler, it comes out at the very beginning. And then it sort of flips backwards and forwards in time to Edward, devastated, having lost his entire family in this plane crash and having to go and live with his aunt and uncle and deal with all his injuries and trauma and all of that, which wasn't a thread that I particularly warmed to. And then the thread going back in time back to the plane and all the people on the plane, and who are all going to come to a grisly death. And I understand from reading the blurb that it goes on to Edward making friends with his new little next door neighbour after the crash, and they come upon a bunch of letters written to Edward by the victims of the plane crash's family. I'm going to give up that 25%. Is not the time for me with this book. Finding it very easy to give up books because I'm trying to get through my back catalogue and I know I've got so many good ones to read. I feel like I'm finding it easier to give up books, and I feel like that's a good thing for me. Anyway, while I was on the plane, I was chatting to the lady in the seat next to me who was reading this book, The New Neighbours by Claire Douglas, and we got chatting about books, and I said that I'd read other books by her and really enjoyed them and not read this one. And she said it was good. It was an overnight flight, and by the morning she'd finished it, and she asked me if I'd like it. She said she wasn't going to keep it, so would I like it? So I said yes, thank you very much. So it's The New Neighbours by Claire Douglas, and this says on the back of it, Lena overhears a conversation she shouldn't have. She is sure her new neighbours, the Morgans, are planning a crime. Her family say she's mistaken. Sorry, I thought for one horrible moment I wasn't recording then. They are a lovely, friendly couple. She should forget it. Yet Lena can't, and the more she investigates, the worse her suspicions. But Lena hasn't counted on one thing, a secret from her own past, one that puts her in terrible danger. Really like the colours on the cover of that. So yes, that's another one to add to my TBR. So that's going to end this month of reading. And thank you very much for watching this. Let me know if you've got any recommendations for me this month, and I will see you again next month for another month of reading. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.